Hey, it's Sandy Shallis, and today I'm coming with a really interesting topic. Now, the caveat, of course, is I'm not a physicist and I am not a scientist, but I've been interested in this story since a friend of mine, who is a real friend of mine, sent me this, but he'd have been telling me years ago about Nikola Tesla and the story about the patents and all those things. So this is an article by Collective Evolution, and it's on. Hi, Dolores. It's on their website. I don't know a ton about Collective Evolution, but as everything online, you take it with a grain of salt, right? Okay. But it's interesting as hell. And I know there are a lot of people out there who will see this that know way more than I do about so many of these things that the conversation should be spurred and it should be pretty good, I would hope. Okay, so let's get started. It's called, oh, Justin. Wait, I have to say hi to Justin because Justin is, oh, why aren't you on there? I don't know if it showed, but I don't have any idea what's showing on there. Okay, it says, you're telling me technology like this exists, but we're still using oil, gas, and coal? All right. It's going to be a little long, but this is, to me, is a great discussion. To begin with, free energy refers to the idea of a system that can generate power by taking energy from a limitless source. A power generated free from the constraints of oil, solar, and wind, but can actually continue to produce energy for 24 hours, 7 days a week, for an infinite amount of time without worry of ever running out. And free? Free in this sense does not refer to free power generation. Monetarily speaking, despite the fact that the human race has more than enough potential and technology to make this happen. In all places in the world, if all places in the world had access to limitless energy generation, the implications would be grand. Take poverty, for example. Many regions around the world are suffering due to a lack of power generation. Free energy would transform all aspects of humanity, including the entire global economy, so much of which is currently dependent on oil. So, is there such a machine? The answer is yes. And there are several examples utilizing different types of technologies and scientific understanding. One example comes from NOCA Clean Energy. I went to their site. All these links will be up so you can see this all for yourself. With what they refer to as the digital magnetic transducer generator. It's a form of magnetic clean green technology that can, if scaled up, power entire cities. The team here at Collective Evolution have actually seen and vetted the technology for themselves. The main focus of this article, however, is on Paramansa Tiwari. Sorry. Tiwari was an author, inventor, and retired executive director, nuclear projects, but physicist nonetheless, of the Nuclear Power Corporation of India, NPCIL, and it is with great sympathy and sadness that we report to you on his passing, which happened on November 27, 2017. Tiwari invented a machine that produces more power than is what it put into the system. And here's a quote. Much to my surprise, these concepts have been proven in hundreds of laboratories around the world, but have not really seen the light of day. Unquote. Dr. Brian O'Leary, former NASA astronaut and Princeton physics professor. Pictured below is O'Leary with Tiwari. Okay, so I can't show you the picture. You're just going to have to look at it because I don't have that capability on this. He's received praise from many, including legendary quantum physicist John Wheeler, who admired his work. You can review that correspondence in that article also. So they have links to everything, okay? So over the past couple of years, Collective Evolution has had the pleasure of communicating with Toby Grotz, who is in a video that there's also a link on this thing. He has worked in the aerospace industry, was involved with Space Shuttle and Hubble telescope testing in a solar simulator and space environment test facility, and has been on both sides of the argument when it comes to exploring energy generation. He has been involved in exploring oil and gas and geothermal resources, as well as coal, natural gas, and nuclear power plants. So he is very passionate about new energy generation and recognizes that the time to make the transition is now, but also my little caveat, the time to make the money is now, right? This has been our contact to and from Tewari over the past few years as we've supported his work in multiple ways, including financially to assist with building a prototype, as well as publicly. Grotz was a close friend and a colleague of Tewari. Out of the Void. Out of the Void, which is it's a film that recently premiered in Austria. It's a docudrama about Tesla's vision, okay? Nikola Tesla, about his vision and the work of Tewari. You can view footage of the machine in the film and trailer, which is also linked to this article. It's been built and independently tested as high as 250% efficiency. In fact, a prototype of the machine was tested by Kirloskar Electric, a manufacturer of electrical generators in India. There, it exhibited 165% efficiency over Unity. Now, these are things that, of course, I, as not having a background in all of this, expect our commenters to fill in when we have the discussion. And hi, Kenny, and hi, Cindy. Oh, everybody's this is cool. And Steve, good. I'm really glad y'all joined. I don't know if I can see any of your comments. Well, I can't. It's not showing or whatever it's doing. But let's go, because it's long and it's interesting to me, and I hope it's as interesting to you too. So they made this prototype. There's a movie in there. This electric manufacturer in India. They make generators, but they were able to pull off somehow this machine. Okay, and there's pictures of the engineers, and of course they're all dudes. The Economic Times of India seemed to be the only media outlet other than Collective Evolution to pick up the story. So you know there's going to be a, ooh, I wonder why. Below is a discussion of test results during the filming of Ozdem Next, Out of the Void, with the device in the Kirloskar facility. And forgive my pronunciations. You'll have to probably pronounce them yourself when you read the article. Can you believe it? This type of technology has tremendous implications and the potential to provide power to billions of people for infinity without the need to continually ravage the earth. Below is the docudrama. Okay, it's in there. And it's about Tesla's vision and the work of Tewari. And you'll find the footage of the machine in the article. So how does it work, you say, right? How does it work to all of us non-science people, but that are interested in all this stuff? Tewari was successful in eliminating the back torque of the generator. What happens when you do that? He explained on his website, which has a link there to the website. There you will find and can find more resources about him, his machine, and his work. And he goes into efficiency, talking about the efficiency of electrical generator, yada. You'll read that too. Then he says, this is what happens. A new generation of highly efficient electrical machines is enabled, which can greatly reduce the use of fossil fuels and carbon dioxide emissions. Okay, he said at the time, now he's passed on. With refinement in the design, a much higher efficiency will be possible. It's called the reactorless generator. He also referred to it as the space powered generator. It allows for the production of power with improved efficiency. A prototype has been tested, which I told you already. Now, it works with physics, it works with space, it works with these dynamics that probably a lot of people will say, oh, bull, maybe. We'll see, because I have more to add. But let's go. So next is like a little bit of a conspiracy type of part of the article. Suppression of this type of technology. The fact that technologies like this exist and have been replicated is outstanding. And given its implication, it's extremely confusing to contemplate just how these type of technologies have not made it into the mainstream, or is it? If you think about the implications of free energy, it literally destroys the control that multiple energy corporations have on this planet. There would be no more need for oil. And ask yourself, how many products and services do we manufacture that require oil? Pretty much everything. Sure, it would still cost money, but at the next level of human development, doesn't have to. Again, free here refers to the fact that it is extracting energy from a limitless source, not the idea that it would actually be free from purchase, because God forbid we got rid of capitalism. All right, that's my little. So when one brings up suppression of this technology, it's not hard to believe. That being said, Tewari and his team never experienced direct suppression of his technology. This is what Mr. Grote said. It wasn't long before carriage makers were driving horseless carriages. It wasn't long before people crossing the continent on trains abandoned the railroads for airliners. Natural gas is replacing coal, and there is nothing the railroads, coal miners, or the coal companies can do about it. Cheaper and more efficient energy always wins out over more expensive energy. Coal replaced wood, and oil replaced coal as the primary source of energy. Anything that is more efficient boosts the figure on the bottom line of the ledger. Dollars chase efficiency. Inefficiency is suppressed by market forces. Efficiency wins in the marketplace. Or does it? That's my question. The engineering director, electrical engineer of the Karnataka Power Corporation that supplies power to 6 million people in Bangalore and the entire state of Karnataka, a 10,000 megawatt load, told me that Tewari's machine would never be suppressed. And then there's some links. So the sentiment that Grote in an article he published on this collective evolution site is called "Why There Will Be No Suppression of New Energy Technology." Now, according to Dr. Hal Puthoff, that's a nice name, Puthoff, Puthoff, whose professional background includes engineering work at General Electric and Sperry, 3.5 years with the U.S. Department of Defense, a contract to various government agencies, and more, has said that, quote, "These are not just fringe scientists with science fiction ideas. They are mainstream ideas being published in mainstream physics journals and being taken seriously by mainstream military and NASA-type funders." Quote, "I've been taken out on aircraft carriers by the Navy and shown what it is we have to replace if we have new energy sources to provide new fuel methods." Of course, it's the military. I can't help but put my little 2 cents in. Here's an interesting one. Stephen Aftergood from the Federation of American Scientists, he reports, and this was after this Invention Secrecy Act, which was brought into effect in 1951 in our country. Over 5,000 inventions alone were issued secrecy orders at the end of 2014. Sources are in there. This guy, Stephen, he says, the 1971 list indicates that patents for solar photovoltaic generators were subject to review and possible restriction if the photovoltaics were more than 20% efficient. Energy conversion systems were likewise subject to review and possible restriction if they offered conversion efficiencies in excess of 70-80%. You understand what that means. Coal, gas, oil, interest, money, profits, So something to think about, not to mention the black budget and the recent disclosure of exotic technologies from the likes of Steve Justice, for example. He recently retired from a 30-year stint as director of aerospace for Lockheed Martin. Himself, along with some of his colleagues with the Department of Defense, have actually teamed up to create more awareness about this and a few other things. And it's called To the Stars Academy. Now, it gets a little weird here, but it's still so interesting. And I really want you guys to just, go with this. This guy says, in many generations, many generations past, our machinery will be driven by a power obtainable at any point in the universe. This idea is not novel. We find it in the delightful myth of Antheus, who derives power from the earth. We find it among several speculations of one of your splendid mathematicians. Throughout space, there is energy. Is this energy static or kinetic? If static, our hopes are in vain. If kinetic, and this we know it is for certain, then there is a mere question of time when men will succeed in attaching their machinery to the very wheel work of nature. And that was Nikola Tesla. And then there's another article which goes into the Casimir effect. And it is a proven example of free energy that cannot be debunked. The Casimir effect illustrates 0 point or vacuum state energy, which predicts that two metal plates close together attract each other due to an imbalance in the quantum fluctuations. And this is where it gets neat to try to imagine this. You can see a visual demonstration of the concept on the article. The implications of this are far-reaching and have been written about extensively within theoretical physics by researchers all over the world. Today, we're beginning to see these concepts are not just theoretical, but instead very practical and very simply suppressed. Vacuums generally are thought to be voids, but Hendrik Casimir believed these pockets of nothing do indeed contain fluctuations of electromagnetic waves. He suggested that two metal plates held apart in a vacuum could trap the waves. It creates a vacuum energy that could attract or repel the plates. As the boundaries of a region move, the variation in vacuum energy, which is called 0 point energy, leads to the Casimir effect. Recent research done at Harvard University and the Vrije University in Amsterdam, VRIJE, and elsewhere has proven the Casimir effect correct. So these people are looking at all these different things, as always scientists do. And then they go on to talk about a peer-published paper in the journal Foundations of Physics Letters in 2001, and they were talking about the principles of relativity. But what I want to go on to is that they talked about other scientists in here that have used it, and there is significant evidence that scientists since Tesla have known about this energy, but that its existence and potential use has been discouraged and indeed suppressed over the past half century or more. Suppression. That's what they're saying. Now, that American physicist we talked about before, Puthoff, mentioned above, he's a researcher at the Institute for Advanced Studies in Austin, Texas, and he published a paper in the journal Physical Review, Atomic, Molecular, and Optical Physics, titled Gravity as a 0 Point Fluctuation Force. His paper proposed a suggestive model in which gravity is not a separately existing fundamental force, but is rather indeed an induced effect associated with 0 point fluctuations of the vacuum, as illustrated by the Casimir force. So this is all pretty cool stuff that, of course, it's new to me, and that's why I asked my team for some help, to make this today happen, so that it is understandable, and we don't go too long. And I know I'm almost to a half an hour, so I kind of want to wrap this up, but I really want you to go to the links. They talk about, I want to find this one more piece about this, because it talks about quantum theory. And okay, given that these technologies exist, one of the main points is that it acknowledges the non-material and gives even more credibility to the stories with regards to the creation of matter that we've been told in ancient Eastern, Vedic, Buddhist, and other texts around the world. It is one point and proof within science that acknowledges what could actually be the spiritual foundation of the universe. So there's a lot of different areas that are covered in this article. This type of thing with credible evidence can really shake the beliefs of some people, and as a result, ridicule and labels as such as pseudoscience are quick to follow. And that's why I'm here. I don't know. And I expect that people that watch this and want to learn from this, from me, and start learning or commenting either on YouTube or here, will have a discussion about this, because I find it fascinating. And I think there's a lot of people that do. We don't know about these things. So if we look at quantum theory, despite the unrivaled empirical success of quantum theory, the very suggestion that it may be literally true as a description of nature is still greeted with cynicism, incomprehension, and even anger. And that was T. Folger in Quantum Shamantum. And that was in Discover magazine in 2001. So the end of this talks about having a few decades to go, maybe not, but they think that humanity is ready for these technologies. We will see them emerge. But my question is that if something does exist that could stop this proliferation of fossil fuels and this proliferation of corporate greed and the fossil fuel industries that own basically our entire planet, could it happen? Could it happen? These people there's nothing new to be discovered in physics now. All that remains is more and more precise measurement. They ended that because they said the statement was made by Lord Kelvin in the 1900s and shattered only 5 years later when Einstein published his paper on special relativity. So the new theories proposed by Einstein challenged the current framework of understanding, forcing the scientific community to open up to an alternate view of the true nature of our reality. And this is what this whole website's about. This serves as a great example of how things are taken to be truth can suddenly change to fiction. I loved it. I'm not a scientist. And then, of course, we have a team. And Brian brought me to Reddit. Debunk this. Okay, so on this Reddit thread, I will read just a couple of things, and it's if you've really created a machine which goes above 100% efficiency and disproves several building blocks of physics, you should perhaps be publishing this in an academic journal rather than sending a press release to a newspaper. So evidently something is talked about now out there, and somebody else had made a lot of comments on believing that it could happen or not believing that it could happen. And then somebody said, vacuum is a subtle fluid unknown in material media. Vacuum is mass media, continuous, non-viscous, and incompressible, and is responsible for all the properties of matter. And that vacuum has always existed and will exist forever. This is not true. This is a person laughing at the horrible understanding of science where vacuum is a fluid. So what I brought that up to say, there's a lot of contention out there. And with anything that's different, And then there was another Reddit that said that there's no need to waste breath debunking perpetual motion machines. They are debunked by trillions of dollars these guys are not making by feeding electricity back into their power grid. So we have to take everything with a grain of salt. And that's what I'm saying. And I'm going to publish this, but I do have a Reddit page. There's a couple of different ones that Brian, that is on our team, suggests, and I'll put them up. One is where is it? I mean, it sounds so terrible, but they have such like intelligent conversations. Reddit, this one is the Doomsday Cult. It's climate and energy, actually. It's a high quality discussion. They just call it, the names are irrelevant. It's the discussion and the people in the discussions. They fascinate me, and they have education in things that I don't have, and just, I don't know, it's just all interesting, whether it can happen or not. Just the thought of it, and that little bit of knowledge that maybe really Nikola Tesla had something there and it was suppressed from us. And that wouldn't surprise me with what we know in our government as far as our wars are going in the Middle East, what happened with the Iran-Contra scandal. And I have to throw in putting Oliver North as the head of the NRA is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. He's a war criminal of Reagan era. But anyway, that is an aside. Thank you for coming. I hope that you put some comments, good comments. Maybe this will spur discussion. I thought it was interesting to know about this machine, how it would work, and I'm definitely going to go on the Reddit pages and see what they say. So have a great day, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye. Peace.